Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 29 of Tour of Japan, the review series for Gran Turismo 6's selection of Super GT class vehicles, both GT300 and also GT500 class. And in this episode we're featuring another team version of one of the most popular Super GT cars in the game. Popular, of course, because not only is it a brilliant GT500 machine, but also can take on a variety of other racing machines at various PP levels with great success, and it's particularly known for its handling. And the car in question is, of course, Honda's HSV-010. This particular team is the Keihin HSV-010. It's got pretty much the simplest livery, just a plain blue with some stickers, that's pretty much it. Looks on the surface to be quite similar to the Team Raybrig version, but it is actually slightly different. And interestingly enough, despite the fact that in the dealership the PP of both this and the Raybrig are higher than the Team Vida or Wida or Wida, however you pronounce it, HSV-010, the silver one. Interestingly, despite the fact that they have a higher PP than that car, they actually have lower specs than that model when fully tuned, which is quite strange. Now that said, they're certainly not slouches. They are pretty much the most expensive Super GT models that you can buy on the game at 980,000 credits. That is of course not including the stealth models, some of which are more expensive than that. And the specs are very strong. The engine's relatively small for a GT500 car, not small as some, but relatively small at 3.4 litres. It produces 878 horsepower, and as I mentioned, that is slightly lower, funnily enough, than the silver version, which produces 881. These models also have 2 foot-pounds of torque less than the silver version, at 496 pound-feet. They all weigh exactly the same, that's 1100 kilos, and they all have very, very good power-to-weight ratios of around 800 horsepower per tonne. Not surprising considering how light they are and how powerful they are. The PP on this particular version is 1 PP lower than the silver version at 654. And overall, I think most people by this point already know that the HSV-010 is a very, very good car. Personally, I don't use them that much, but to be honest, the main reason why I don't use them that much is because everybody does. And if everybody uses a car, that generally makes me less inclined to do so, because I prefer to be different, even for at the cost, really, of being slightly slower. However, if you're looking for a purely competitive, high-performance all-round machine, it's hard to find a better one, especially for handling and grip, but also for acceleration and top speed, than the HSV-010. And this particular model, although in some ways slightly inferior to the Team Wida, let's say, version, it's still a very strong car. In fact, all three of them are, and they should be for their price. Almost 1 million credits should get you a very good racing car, and it does. They're premium models, which is also a nice addition when you're paying that kind of money. They have a very distinctive sound, which is pretty much unique on Gran Turismo. There's nothing else that sounds quite like it. And I think I mentioned before with the original episode featuring the Team Wida version that it's kind of a shame that there isn't a road-going version of this car, because it would be a pretty awesome machine if they did make one. But there isn't for the moment, and we are of course getting a new NSX, which will probably end up being more of Honda's primary Super GT machine than this. It will probably take over the mantle, so to speak. But it is still a shame, I think, that we never actually got a road-going version of this car. In many ways it's very similar to the Lexus LFA. It's got that high-pitched sound, relatively low-capacity engine, and it just has a very similar overall aura to it that the LFA also kind of has. Overall, there's not really much new to say about this car. It's a very good car, most people know that by this point. As far as where I'd recommend using it, well, that's one of the great things about it. It's pretty good on pretty much any track. It has excellent handling, very, very sharp acceleration, a very responsive engine that likes to be worked and revved high. In terms of top speed though, it doesn't let itself down. The sound of the car and the way it accelerates would probably make you assume that it's not that great for top speed. It seems like more of an accelerator than a top speed racer. But that's just not the case. The top speed is also very good. So this car doesn't really have any downsides, unless you're like me and just don't like to join in with the crowd, if you consider that to be a downside. So overall, if you're looking for a strong all-round GT500 car, this is one of the best all-round models to go for. As far as which team to go for, as I said, the silver version is slightly superior in terms of sheer spec, but all three are very, very good cars. So, that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.